For the underdog, I think, which would be Vosu, but it will be no surprise if Leipzig comes out strong.
Yeah, I certainly saw Vosu this morning, and I wasn't sure if we were actually going to see. I didn't anticipate that we'd see her here in the Final Four. So, yeah, I tend to want to root for the underdog. There was a little bit of controversy in one of her bouts a little bit earlier, but she stuck with it and stayed through it.
It'll also be interesting to see the two different styles at work here. I think Vosu has a adapted Russian style, and then Flessel obviously has a classic French style, so it'll be interesting to see how they match up.
Yeah, how these two play off one another. And Maya, have you ever fenced against either of these fencers? Come up against either of these?
I fenced Flessel a couple of years ago, actually.
Yeah.
It was a learning experience.
A learning experience. Well, without them, I mean, without the fencers that are above us, where at certain times, where else would we learn? You have to go and take your licks, and then
of course.
You get back in the game. Of course, that's how everybody grows at every sport.
I'm expecting Flessel to probably try and do a few toe touches. That's her famous touch. I think in '96 when she won the Olympics, she hit 10 times on the foot for the final match.
Actually, really remarkable for those of you listening at home. Making those toe touches are not as easy as it sounds. And in fact, we're fencing the epee tonight. The epee is a thrusting weapon, so we only hit with the point. And in fact, we can hit anywhere on the body, so the entire body is target. There's no right of way, so it's really a question of who's able to hit the target first. And epee will tend to be a very patient game, as a matter of fact. You'll very likely the bouts will end rather than with the score, which we're trying to achieve 15 points. They usually tend to end on time. And for these 15-touch bouts, we get three 3-minute periods with a 1-minute break in between each period. But usually in these bouts, we don't go all the way to the 15 points.
Mm-hmm. And the first 3 minutes are usually used as a testing period to kind of feel your opponent out. I think a lot of the action will be in the second and third period. Mostly.
Yeah, usually so. And yeah, you'll find that first period is very exploratory. People are kind of looking and seeing what's going on here. And Vosu getting a little bit of the left-handed treatment there, and she's got to make sure that she's...
There we go, the toe touch.
Oh, expertly called.
I think particularly with this matchup of styles, the Estonians are a very patient style of fencing. They're comfortable fencing at their end of the strip, the back end. So it'll be interesting to see how Laura tries to sneak in her attacks, both the toe touch, the flesh, the running attack, how she chooses to play this game, because the Estonians are comfortable waiting.
Very comfortable at the end of the strip, yep. And epee is perhaps the most patient of all the games, of foil and saber. I guess you'd say that epee and saber would be on different ends of the spectrum as far as the patience is concerned. And as a matter of fact, we just ran through 2 semifinal bouts in men's saber, and we got it all done in the course of a half an hour, which is really, in epee terms, a whole different kind of animal. So how have you enjoyed fencing in the venue? It's a lovely setup that they have here. It's kind of the star treatment, don't you think?
Definitely. I'm really impressed, actually, with this main hall where they have the audience lights dimmed and then spotlights on the strip.
Yeah, it's kind of a gorgeous presentation, isn't it? It really brings the eye right into the strip. So there you see what we call a stop touch there. There's an attack from Vosu, and Flessel sort of reaches out and gets her around the arm before she has a chance to finish the action. And with foil, you'll get a lot of defense by making parries. In epee, a lot of the defense is done by sort of reaching the point out and making sure that you stop the opponent before she gets to you.
That was an interesting touch. It seemed like Vosu was being a bit tentative. She wasn't really going for the attack. Maybe she was testing, but Laura was able to put in the stop hit before Vosu was able to either finish or change.
Right.
And another attempt at that toe touch there, but this time Flessel herself gets stopped. As we can see in the instant replay, she drops down, and the tip of Vosu's weapon is there waiting for her. And the score is now 2-1. And actually, we're down to the last 30 seconds of the period, which is fairly typical for women's epee at this level.
Right. Seems as though Flessel's got a new sponsor.
Does she? So who's she sporting now?
I can't see the label, but I don't recognize it having been there before.
You mean a new sponsor since this afternoon?
No, I mean since last tournament
last time
I saw
her. She makes the top 4, and somebody says, "Here, stick this on your arm." Quick. Well, maybe I could have sponsored her. Maybe, at this point, I'll give you $5 if you'll wear Alex Ripa on your arm. So usually at this point, with only about 12 seconds, 10 seconds left, the fencers will sort of back away from each other and let the time run out. Step back and get some advice from the coaches if they're nearby, and get a drink of water and make some plans for the next round. We'll take a 1-minute break at this point with Flessel up 2 against Vosu's 1. And we'll talk a little bit about what do you think the coaches are going to advise at this point? What do you think?
Well, I have a feeling that the Estonian coach is probably going to tell Vosu not to do anything too rash at this point. I mean, she's only 1 touch behind. There's no reason to rush. She can continue to be patient for another 3 minutes.
So play her game for a little while longer.
For a little while longer until
Sure.
she has to go.
Yeah, the second period is a great chance to try a strategy, like being patient, seeing what you can do, because you still have the third period to go into, and of course it's only 1 point different, which is not a big deal. Epee is unique in that if both lights go on at the same time, each fencer gets a point. Foil and saber feature right of way, which ensures that only one person at a time can get a point.
I would say it wouldn't be surprising to see Laura step it up a bit in pace and intensity in this second period. We already saw her attempt 3 toe touches and 1 flesh attack, so for her to turn up that attack, and if she's found some of the holes in Vosu's game, that wouldn't be surprising.
The flesh, of course, not a reference to our skin, ladies and gentlemen, but a reference to a kind of leaping attack that is made. It's spelled Flche and is from the French for arrow, as a matter of fact. So both fencers have slightly different styles, and we talked yesterday in the men's epee finals about some of the choices that they use for grips, and here we see that sort of battle happening again. Vosu has the orthopedic grip or the pistol grip that she uses, and there's a lot of good control in that. The weapon stays pretty well in the hand, but we see Flessel holding the sort of traditional French grip and down by the pommel, as a matter of fact, and gives her a little bit more reach. Some people say it takes away from the accuracy. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I completely disagree with that, actually. I think that you
fair.
get you have a lot better accuracy with a French grip if you know how to use it correctly and you hold it the right way, especially if you're fencing with a French style, which it was created for, then your accuracy can actually increase if you use it.
And holding it down by the pommel, no fear of losing control of the weapon at all, or having it pushed out of your hand by an opposition attack or an opposition riposte?
Well, I use a French grip, and that's definitely happened to me a lot of times, but that's why the French often rely on deceiving the blade and trying to avoid getting parried so that they can hold on to their grips. Also, you can do a lot of actions where if someone parries you, you flow into another line to maintain control.
You sort of move with the action,
Exactly.
kind of use the energy against the opponent.
Yeah, I was going to say another aspect of it is sort of leveraging. It's common. You have to use the strong part of your blade, which is the base of your blade, against the weak part of their blade. So even if you're holding a grip with less strength, it's really kind of a matter of physics and leveraging, where you can take control of the blade even with a French grip.
You'll see epee fencers a lot, Lindsay, like you're saying. You'll see epee fencers a lot, making sure that they're working the opponent's blade, the weak part of the opponent's blade at the end, called the foible, I guess we'd say in fencing terms, down toward the forte, the strong part, the base of the weapon just above the bell guard. And that way you can wrest control away from your opponent, and you can control your point in toward your opponent, while your opponent's point is deflected away from you. Still only 1 point separates our two fencers, and I love watching epee, and I love watching women's epee because it is such a patient and calculating game.
Definitely.
And I really like to watch the strategies unfold, and for the fencers. They both stopped there before the referee called halt, huh? That's kind of a dangerous thing to do. You want to keep fencing, generally speaking, until the referee says stop.
And untypical of Flessel, she would usually try and fight those out. So.
Curious. But the referees, I have to say, I've seen more during this tournament yellow cards for things like jostling when bodies hit together, and the referees have been under advisement to keep the rules under pretty strict control during the course of this tournament. So perhaps both fencers may be a little shell-shocked. They've seen a little bit of it already, and they don't want to get caught. Yellow cards and red cards have been flying fast and furious throughout the tournament.
I got one of those, actually.
Did you? Did you?
I didn't think I was jostling, but apparently you thought I was.
So you see, I speak the truth, but and was it just a kind of that incidental core?
Yeah, flesh attack.
There's that gorgeous flesh attack, and Flessel disappears into the stands, I think. She's hopping on a train. She'll be back soon. Look at that form on the replay. It is gorgeous, isn't it?
Yes. Actually, Lindsay and I saw Flessel do one of those one time. I don't remember where we were, but she was on one of these raised strips, and her flesh was so incredible that she ended up horizontal in the air, but she was off of the strip and off of the raised platform, so she fell completely flat.
Wow.
So that was
Must have taken her a moment to get back
Yeah.
up.
It's really a powerful attack because it relies on you being off balance for a moment because you're basically your back foot crosses in front of your front foot and you're literally flying through the air.
Yeah, your a flesh performed as well as Flessel performs it. Your upper body, your torso, becomes essentially parallel to the strip, and it gives you a great deal more reach. It also makes it difficult for the opponent to find a place to get the point to stick. And in the epee, of course, we've got to push a certain amount of pressure when we put the tip down, and we've also got to hold that pressure for a certain amount of time, so to get the point to really go off.
I think you see Vosu pushing a little bit more. It looks like she would like to not close this period down by 2 touches.
I think she is. She's got 15 seconds left, and it looks like she's still meaning to fence.
right.
And I think she certainly, we've seen a lot of really strong offense from Flessel, and Vosu probably wants to start changing up that ratio. So it may not be good. A lot of times, the position of the fencer on the strip makes a great deal of difference to how things are working out. Sometimes if things aren't going your way and you've been staying at the end of your strip like we've seen from Vosu, then moving to a different place on the strip makes a really big difference in the course of the bout.
Right. You'll see here a teammate of Vosu's coaching her. I don't know where their coach is, but these two are really close. They've been together for a while. This is Heidi Rohi.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you that you're watching us, of course, on our broadcasts on WCSN.com, and we are the home of World Championship Sports, the World Championship Sports Network, and cooperation with Fencing Pictures at fencingpictures.tv and Fencing Channel at fencingchannel.com. Of course, I'm Alex Ripa, and I'm joined here in the studio tonight by Lindsay Campbell.
Hello.
And hi, Lindsay. How are you? And Maya Lawrence, two members of the U.S. Women's Epee team, representing the United States here this week at Leipzig, Germany. So here we are in the third and final period of this semifinal bout, and the score is 5 for Flessel from France and 3 points for Vosu from
Estonia.
Vosu's really going to have to turn it up a notch. I mean, even just a 2-touch difference in the third period, she's going to have to come up with some creative touches here.
Right. The French are very good also at counterattacking, so if Flora decides she doesn't want to push, which she doesn't look like she's decided, but if she does, then Vosu might have a tough time pulling out a single light.
In that case, now we started to see Flessel the way that we tend to think. She's still taking shots, even though she's behind her opponent. There's that flesh. Doesn't quite make it light up. So Flessel not really wanting to be put on defense. It looks like she still wants to maintain the offense there.
Exactly.
She's comfortable in that position.
And if you go off the side of the strip before you pass your opponent gets to gain a meter of distance. And in this case, we saw Vosu step forward a little bit, and Flessel moved back a little bit toward the end of her side of the strip. She loves going for those toe touches.
Right. That can also be dangerous because if you're at the very end of the strip and you go off and your opponent gains distance, you can actually go off the strip and then a touch can be scored against you.
That's right. Off the back of the strip with 2 feet means that a touch gets scored against you. And so if you get that penalty, that distance penalty for going off the side of the strip when you're too close to the end, you can actually be put on guard off the end of the strip and lose a point. There was a gorgeous touch down on the leg that time from Flessel. And about 2 minutes left, but we've got a score of 5-4, and certainly in 2 minutes that can be tied up.
Definitely. I'm actually a little bit surprised. I would expect the score to be a little bit higher at this point, but they're both playing it pretty safe.
Yeah, I think Flessel is trying to be very careful not to underestimate Vosu. She wants to make sure that she's going to keep her A game going, and so she's not taking any unnecessary risks. The double touch there, both fencers hit each other, and the legs came on at the same time. Kind of a difficult trick to do, but yet happens very frequently.
One thing that is just so impressive to watch is Laura Flessel's explosiveness. You can see the power in her legs, and once she launches into a lunge, it's just she's got an incredible amount of speed and power.
Yeah, you can tell just what an athlete she is. And double touches, of course, would be fine for her. She can double touch her way through the rest of this period and be on her way to the gold medal bout. And Vosu's got to find a way to start getting some single lights on. I wonder if it'd be wise for her. It seems that her initiating an attack is drawing the counter-offensive action from Flessel, so it seems like perhaps Vosu should be thinking of some second intention action, perhaps. Speak of the devil.
Simple, clean attack like that one.
That's right. That sometimes makes it easy. So we have a tie game now with 1 minute and 25 seconds left to play. What a gorgeous lunge there from Vosu. You really have to admire the form and technique of both these fencers. It's very nice to look at.
Definitely. They're both very long, and they can both lunge very, 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 very well.
Yeah, they get out fast, and it's very explosive. No tension in the body to give away the attack when it's on its way. And now, all of a sudden, the offensive game that was working so well for Flessel didn't seem to work very well there at all.
Right. Looked like she dropped her hand just a tiny bit on her flush there.
And Vosu was ready with the counterattack.
Of course, and a tiny bit is all you need in Epee.
Well, now it's a different game, isn't it? Vosu can go back to her defensive style.
Very comfortably, and understanding that Flessel only has a minute. Oh, and so your dreams may come true of an underdog victory here today.
She went for that risky toe touch, but missed it.
A lot of fencing is about the style, so I have to support the athlete that's going to take a chance like that, but might have been a risky maneuver this late in the game and with this late in the time. So now a 2-point difference there for Vosu, and she's been surprising people like this all day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
3-point difference.
That's a great point accuracy right there.
Isn't it?
Definitely looks like her point's on fire tonight.
It'll be interesting to see if Laura's able to change up the tempo and use more of her speed.
Whatever she does, she's going to have to get it done pretty quick.
48 seconds.
In Epee time, 48 seconds is not a lot of time. It looks like she's going to try to work the footwork a little bit, maybe try to draw Vosu forward a little bit, but I don't think she really has time to do that.
Last 30 seconds, it's starting to get down to the wire.
It is down to the wire. Oh, that double touch now. The double touches, of course, will work favorably for Vosu. She can get as many as she likes and walk out of here as a champion.
I have to say that overall this bout looks like it's been fenced more in Vosu's style than in Flessel's style.
Tends to be in fencing that one person will control the strip, and it looks like it's been played on Vosu's terms. And again, the double touch, she can make those with impunity now.
Looks like Flessel's rushing a little bit now.
Well, she's up against the clock, and so she's probably going to have to get out there and start making some action. Never a good position to be in.
Oh, there's a toe touch
Toe
again.
touch, hey.
It's pretty reliable.
That's her go-to.
That's right. She may not walk out of here going to the being promoted to the final bout, but she certainly will have bragging rights. That's about 5 toe touches, isn't it? Ooh, can it be done? Now 1 point can be done.
Definitely. 19
So
seconds for 1 point is surely enough time.
A veteran fencer like Flessel, we can't certainly rule out. She's going to stay collected. She's going to try to put it back together, and let's see if she can even it up here.
She would need to get this next one, I think. Single light.
She's going to, if she can tie it up, I suspect she'll have. Ooh, that hurts. She went for the toe touch again, took the risk.
That was probably the most important touch of the bout, I would say.
That probably is, because that's the difference, being able to get this done. I suspect we're going to see a freight train called Flessel coming on the strip pretty
Definitely.
soon. Oh, she gets the touch, and we're in one striking distance again. The bouts have been like this the whole tournament. We've almost all the bouts have had very close scores toward the end of the bout. And you can see both fencers really coming on guard now, a little deep, a little built for speed kind of on guard there from Flessel. She's getting ready to come in. Oh, the double touch doesn't help. 6 seconds to score
Seems
the
like
one touch.
Flessel's hesitating a little bit. I wouldn't expect this from her.
No, she's probably very nervous.
She doesn't want to
This is a big
rush
point.
into a final touch.
She's got to get it.
Oh.
Is he going to award the touch, though? Will he? Did award the
He
touch.
awarded it.
Let's hear what the audience has to say about that.
They're not happy with that.
They are not pleased
happy
about
at all.
that. Of course, the French coach very happy about that.
Yeah.
But the audience not happy about it all.
Laura was trying to disacknowledge the touch, but her coach encouraged her that it was indeed her touch. The touch is standing.
Interesting. Good sportsmanship here, but she's, of course, in the heat of the combat, you're not really going to know that you've crossed beside your opponent. You're just trying to hit the opponent at that point. Your focus is the target. 14-14 here. Winner takes all on this.
We're a little baffled, actually.
It is a little baffled. It's an exciting bout.
She was up by a lot before, at 15 seconds. So
right now the referee is randomly determining priority, and it goes to Flessel, which is a break. Vosu has been wanting to stay back on her half of the strip, and now she's really going to be compelled to come forward. What's your guess? Do you think that Flessel will get out there and try to attack, or do you think she'll hang back and try to use the minute?
She might actually try and attack. I can't see her hanging back, but she has a great counterattack too, so...
Let's see what she does here.
We'll see what she has the guts to do.
I've definitely seen Laura pull it out and use pressure situations before.
Now we'll fence for 1 minute here. If there's no touch scored at the end of 1 minute, Flessel automatically becomes the winner, and the bout is finished at 14-14. But in the event that any touch is scored, that person becomes the winner automatically in this sudden death round. You can hear a pin drop in here right now. Oh, that's close.
Wow, that was close. They're fencing at a pretty close distance right now.
They are. Pretty brave fencing. Double touches are not counted in this situation. We have to have a single light in order to be able to count the touch. Well, we're certainly seeing Vosu now over her half of the strip. She's come to Flessel's side now, and she's got about half her time left to get this done. The fascinating thing about these priority minutes is that anything can happen. 30 seconds left now, and a single light for Vosu, and in fact she is going to go on, and will she in fact surprise her opponent in the final bout?
Vosu seemed to be ready for those attacks. I mean, she was comfortable with her counterattacking and defensive game, and her point was on, and that was enough to carry her through the bout.
A bit of a strategic mistake on Flessel's part. She had been hanging back during more than half of that priority minute, and she had been doing just fine in that case, and you saw that Vosu retreated a little bit, gave up a little bit of ground, and Flessel came right in. It was almost as if Vosu was planning on using Flessel's natural inclinations against her. Do you think you think that kind of planning was going on in her head, or do you think it was more of a knee-jerk gut reaction for her style of fencing?
Well, I think it was probably a little bit of both. I think throughout the entire match, though, Flessel seemed a little less confident about her attack than usual. I think you would see her attack a little bit more. As you can see, that last attack, she just missed.
She literally just missed, so. Yeah. But was it wise to make that attack at all in that situation?
Yeah, if she felt like it was the right moment, maybe. But Vosu hadn't been attacking the entire bout, so I think she probably could have hung back a little bit.
Well, she has certainly been surprising people all day. And perhaps she will continue to surprise us again and again, actually, as we go on through the second semifinal bout and eventually the final bout. And we have our two fencers taking the stage today. And, of course, let me remind you that we'll be making broadcasts all week on our website. So please join us this week to see the semifinal bouts and final bouts on WCSN.com. And you can see the fencing live from Leipzig, Germany. On fencingchannel.tv, we have daily summaries, podcasts, pictures, and a blog of the 2005 World Championships. You can also find our podcast in the iTunes Store. And, of course, we're brought to you by the World Championship Sports Network, the home of World Championships, WCSN.com, in cooperation with Fencing Pictures at fencingpictures.tv and Fencing Channel at fencingchannel.com. I'm joined in the booth tonight as we begin our second semi-final bout here in the women's epee from the World Championships in Leipzig, Germany, by Lindsay Campbell and Maya Lawrence of the U.S. women's epee team. So, a little surprising that last bout there, huh?
Definitely.
It's kind of exciting to see Vosu making her way up quite confidently. She really didn't look like she was really ill at ease at all during the course of that bout. She seemed confident and comfortable.
Very calm, cool, and collected, just like all of the Estonians, actually.
Sort of getting it done.
Now, here in this matchup with Shireen McKay and Danuta Demoska, they're two younger fencers than in the last bout. Demoska's 23, and as we were saying before, this has really been a breakout season for her. Shireen is 30 years old from Canada, but trains in Europe, first in Paris and now in Budapest.
So we'll be curious to see how this comes out. Now, who would you say is the more well-known fencer?
Shireen McKay is definitely a more well-known fencer. She's been in the top 16 and top 8 of the world rankings for several years now. But Demoska, I think, has been turning a lot of heads this season. Demoska is extremely powerful and fast. She's got a great attack in remise, and I'd be looking to see her coming with that. Shireen tends to fence off with timing and patience a bit more.
And
it's that beat attack that Lindsay was just talking about.
And there it is.
Didn't even need the remise there.
And again, we have the battle of the orthopedic or pistol grip. Ooh, there's a very nice touch.
Wow.
It's a little demoralizing there.
Demoska really dominated in the last round. She won her bout 15-7, so she's probably got a lot of confidence coming off of that.
And her on guard looks very lean. Looks like she's really excited, fired up, and focused. I'd say there's a woman with very clear focus right now what she's out there to do. So yeah, we're seeing again the French grip held there by McKay. Sorry, I'm losing track of my fencers here on the right. And we have the orthopedic grip again held by Demoska. And just stylistic differences there for the athletes, what feels comfortable, what they prefer. Maybe getting a little bit of reach, holding the French grip that way.
Yeah, you can see that Shireen is really fencing with absence of the blade. She's holding her point either down or off to the side or forward. She's not really trying to work off the blade, whereas Demoska makes a lot of beats and touches off the blade.
That's indeed true. Trying to get a little bit of control on the blade, making sure she knows where the blade is, but also making sure that it's out of the way before she commits. Of course, in epee fencing, it can be very dangerous to commit to an attack, and frequently it's the attacker who puts herself in danger by coming forward like that to within reach of the stop touch of the opponent.
It's definitely true. It's very hard to actually hit someone else without getting hit. So.
And we have a good example of it right there as McKay makes the flesh, tried to catch Demoska off guard, but off guard she was not. She brought the point up immediately and makes the stop touch. That's on the lower body, huh? Down by probably on her thigh, I'd say.
Probably just due to the close distance from the flesh attack. Shireen is certainly a patient fencer, but it's a tough position to go into a bout already down by 3 touches and not having yet scored a touch.
Yeah, certainly. I think she'd like to get on the board before she finishes up this period, and I suspect maybe she'll fence it out. Oh,
she really stopped short that time.
She really did. Ill-advised there to try to renew the attack. You know, she failed, and she actually had her feet under her. She probably should have thought about getting out of the way, but she sort of seemed like she wanted to try to push it and see if she can get that. Maybe a little impatient there. 12 seconds left in the first period, and I think she's trying to get herself up on the board.
It would probably be best for her now to just wait until the end of the period.
Hang back, get some advice
Exactly.
maybe, and
take a
come up
water.
with a... Sure.
Regroup, talk to her coach.
And, in fact, that'll be the end of the first period here, and Demoska up 4-0. That's a pretty comfortable lead right now.
I've seen Shireen, come from behind before. She's definitely very strong mentally and more experienced, but this will be a critical period for her to start getting on the board and fencing in her game. Yeah,
the second period she's definitely going to have to get on here. Otherwise, she's going to be stuck having to rush through the last period. And as we can see, she's going to have a difficult time convincing Demoska to sort of come forward and make attacks. It doesn't seem as though offense is very helpful for McKay right now. It doesn't seem like that's really helping her. So, any advice at all for McKay? Any suggestions? Anything you can think of? If you were standing up there right now, what would be running through your mind?
I'd probably tell her to commit a little bit more. It looks like, especially with the example of that flesh where she stopped short, she made the decision to make the attack and then didn't commit all the way. So, whether it is the toe touch, the flesh, or simply the hand pick, which she often uses and hasn't been able to use here, she's going to have to believe in that attack.
Certainly, commitment is key in fencing, and the people that do things halfway will. People that do things halfway usually don't get any reward from that. You've got to kind of take your plan, pick your shot, and you've got to go for it. In this game, the beginning of the second period here, and the score is Demoska 4, McKay 0. And we've got just under 3 minutes to fence in this period, and we have one more period to follow after that, another 3-minute period. So I wonder what advice was given. I think we're seeing McKay be a little bit more patient, but she could just be trying to get the opportunity to break the distance a little bit and make an offensive action.
Actually, Shireen also really relies on her counter time actions a lot, so she's probably trying to draw in Damascus so that she can make a successful counter time action.
Asking for an attack into the preparation or an attempt at a stop hit from Damascus so that she can take the blade and get some control over it before she goes in.
Damoska looks really light on her feet, though. She looks pretty agile right now.
Yeah, she's moving very well. And,
I would say she's moving a little bit better than Shireen.
Well, sometimes you get up on the strip, you know, and even in a, or maybe especially in a bout like this one where there's a lot of pressure, you've got a lot of educated fans watching, and well, there's the action, second intention action probably to put out that first kind of attack, kind of a threat, and let Damoska make some defense, and then follow it up with an immediate redoublement that takes her by surprise. I think she's going to have to be thinking a couple of actions ahead because the direct actions aren't working as well as she would like them to.
Right.
There's
the most again with that long lunge, even though Shireen has a great point, and she was able to get a counterattack out of that. Damoska still got a double. So.
Yeah, her body language said that she wanted that single light awful bad, though.
It looked like Damoska jumped on that quickly, perhaps to try and break some of Shireen's confidence from that single light.
And we are seeing a lot of negative body language from McKay, and for some fencers, that's good. For some fencers, that bad. For some fencers, that can get them charged up. They make themselves get psyched about it, you know. But for some fencers, it can be the kiss of death as they start to kind of.
I definitely think for Shireen, she's one that feeds off positive
not
body.
Negative. Yeah.
When Shireen is fencing best, she's often saying yes to herself. She's pumping her fist, so we're not seeing a lot of that here.
Crowd. Yeah, we don't really see that. She's kind of just hitting her leg, looking back, asking herself why. So I would say that's a
negative body
sign.
Language and probably negative self-talk at the same time. Not a
Damoska's just got a lot of confidence right now.
She is running away with this bout at this point, 8-2. We've got less than half of the second period to go, and Damoska is probably feeling pretty confident. It's at this point that I like to see what the athletes do. Some athletes sort of stop fencing and figure they can hang back and coast, especially in Epee, where they feel like, oh, I can just make stop touches at this point. She's making it look easy out there, and McKay not quite looking like the fencer that she is at this point.
This is no surprise to me after the bout that I saw Damoska fence in the last round, but from a ranking standpoint, it is surprising. If Damoska were to win, it would certainly be an upset.
Well, we like upsets. We had one a little bit earlier, and we may have another one. That was a gorgeously performed flesh, a little beat attack, like you had mentioned, Lindsay. She took the blade a little bit. And
that's the kind of commitment that you have to see from Shireen, and that you usually see. And I think with the touch before last, she was reacting, which she doesn't usually do when she's confident. So she's going to have to start pushing and having more confidence in her attack.
Well, she's looking a little bit more confident now. And do you think we're seeing any of what I mentioned before from Damoska? Do you think she maybe shut down a little bit? She wasn't fencing as hard. She's got to make sure that she keeps her intensity up if she's gonna bring the victory. What do you think about that?
It seemed to me like Shireen is pushing a little bit more, so I'm not sure if that actually is something that Damoska is doing wrong. I think Shireen's just
having a
doing
little.
What she's supposed to do at this point.
Yeah, but
Although
she's having a little trouble
ahead.
with the point control, isn't she? She's from McKay. There's a couple of times she's missed a target entirely, and not necessarily missed it based on parries made by the opponent. That's a gorgeous.
That's a nice touch. That's more of the style of touch you're used to seeing with Shireen.
Right, and with both the style that Shireen and Flosell fence with, point control is extremely important. So if your point is off and that's part of your game or half of your game, then it's difficult to come back.
And it is difficult indeed. This is not too close yet, and a 6-point lead. There's about 30 seconds left in the second period. We've got one more period to fence, but it's 3 minutes, not a whole heck of a lot of time for women's epee, I'm afraid. So McKay certainly has her work cut out for her. That'll make it a little bit easier.
She's going to have to go on a little bit of a run here now if she wants to pull it out to 15.
She certainly will. She's going to have to get a good run in. I hope she's going to make some good strategy in between. Seems eager. A little bit of an early start there for Epee, something we're normally used to seeing in Sabre.
That might be a good sign.
Yeah.
They both missed.
They both missed. I think it was maybe a little more risky for McKay to keep going in when Damoska had found the blade at least a couple of times. About 3 seconds left in this period. Oh, and a very...
Shireen looked like she wanted to try and get one more touch in that period, but that plan backfired. Because
ill-advised, yeah, at that point. She could have basically stepped back and let the period end and made a new strategy. Instead, she's made things a little worse for herself now. Referee's making sure that the epées stay straight enough. You can see him over there advising McKay to keep her epée straight. There's a maximum amount of bend you can have in your blade, and of course they're much more fussy about that this year than they have been in the past. And that's the end of the second period. Now both fencers will get a 1-minute break here and try to put something together. And of course you're joining us on the World Championship Sports Network, the home of world champions, WCSN.com, in cooperation with Fencing Pictures at fencingpictures.tv. and Fencing Channel at fencingchannel.com. My name is Alex Ripa, and we are here in beautiful Leipzig, Germany, for the World Championship of Fencing. The World Championships. I love the sound of that. You know, you walk away from here, if you've got the gold medal, you are indeed the world champion. And I think that certainly gives you some bragging rights at the YMCA, don't you think?
Definitely.
So who are we rooting for now, Damoska or McKay? Any thoughts? I know you like to root for the underdog. It'd be kind of a miracle here for McKay to come back.
We definitely like to root for the underdog, but I feel as though we have a North American bond with Shireen, so it would be nice to see her pull through this one.
Well, we'll root for her nonetheless, and we'll see if she can put it together. It certainly would make for some exciting viewing.
This level of fencing from Damoska is really we've only seen it in the last 6 months. She won a tournament, a World Cup in Prague in January, and since then she's just been on fire. So I'm not surprised to see this level.
Those types of successes, of course, can be quite a boost to the ego, and they can make you feel like give you confidence, make you feel that you are capable of things that perhaps before you didn't feel you were capable of. And so those victories become a very important aspect of a fencer's development. We're in the third period now. As a matter of fact, this is the third. Oh, that was a very nice touch. Wow, she is light on her feet, huh?
Definitely.
Came out of nowhere. Look at that reach. It's remarkable. She had the comfort of feeling the side of the blade on her shoulder there, and she knew that the point was in no way dangerous to her.
Now Shireen's really in a position of having to chase, and with Damoska already at 13, just going to 15, it's quite a challenge, especially since double touches are allowed. Shireen's going to have to be very clever.
What do you suppose her strategy is there, pulling her arm that far back? Did you see her bringing her arm way, way far back? You think there's a strategy there, or do you think she's just a little frustrated?
I think she probably has something in mind, but I actually have never seen her do that before today, so I don't know if it's something that her new coach is trying to have her experiment with. But
interesting. 1 point away now for Damoska. And with 1 point on the line and the opportunity for double touches, you can feel pretty confident that Damoska's got it sewn up and will be advancing to the gold medal bout here at the World Championships. There's another touch from McKay, so we can't write her off just yet. Still 2 minutes to fence, and truly anything can happen if you focus on it 1 point at a time.
I feel like overall the rhythm of this bout, there's it is.
There's the double touch, and so Damoska will advance to the gold medal bout. WCSN, the home of world champions, together with Fencing Pictures, in cooperation with Fencing Channel at fencingchannel.com. And as we rearrange the studio a little bit here and prepare for our gold medal bout, this should be an exciting one with two fencers we weren't sure we were going to get to see in this event. So it'll be very exciting at this point to see what we come up with. And the fencers are taking the strip right now, and as in fact my co-commentators, Maya Lawrence and Lindsay Campbell, are back in the studio. So do something instructive with your time off. Watch that final. Did you see the saber final?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it's pretty nice fencing there.
Yeah, it was a little entertaining. It was a little crazy to see those falls.
Yeah, what about that? And the cramping that he was complaining about?
I don't know if I'm not quite sure what sort of an injury that was.
Yeah, not quite sure what that was. Example, one of those sort of non-specific injuries. Well, you guys, you two have been telling me that you love to root for the underdog, but who are you going to root for now?
It's a tough question. They're pretty much both the underdog.
That's right.
We're looking at the product of two upsets here, but in very different fashions. Vosu at 33, and she's been fencing for quite a while, has that sort of patient, very zen, calm style of fencing and mental attitude, versus Jamoska, who is just 23, just having her breakout year, very aggressive, fiery kind of fencer, probably fencing off a lot of emotion right now. It'll be interesting to see which style comes up on top here.
Yeah, very fascinating indeed, and I have to give Damoska maybe a little bit of the edge as far as footwork is concerned. I mean, she moves really, really well, and Vosu does too, but in a slightly different way.
Damoska's moving especially well today. She's very light on her feet, so that will definitely be to her advantage.
And so we've got Poland versus Estonia here. And Polish fencers, we've certainly seen quite a few of those. And Estonian fencers, good reputation or for epee fencers?
They do have a good reputation, but we haven't seen one standout Estonian fencer, just that, you know, they're known for their patience, for their good defensive style. But it's nice to see an Estonian here in the final.
It's actually a fun name to say. I like to get a chance to say Estonia, and it's so rare that you do get a chance to say it. So I'm going to get my dollar's worth here today and mention it all the time. As a matter of fact, I'll barely refer to her at all as Vosu. I'll say the Estonian fencer, the fencer from Estonia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as a matter of fact, the fencer from Estonia up 2-0 at this point, and Damoska's little bit seems to be rushing in a little bit to these actions. She's got quite a bit of time to burn, and seems to be jumping in awful fast. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that one of the advantages that the Estonian has is that she has a lot more experience than Damoska. I mean, I can't imagine that Damoska is completely calm right now. It's her first World Championship final, and she's fencing for the gold medal. The Estonian has a lot more wins under her belt, or at least top eights under her belt, so she's probably a lot more calm.
And what's the old saying? Age and treachery will always beat youth and skill.
I think also Vosu's got to be feeling pretty confident in her game since she just defeated Laura Fleisel.
What a spectacular victory, and we had the great seats to look at it at our skybox here at the World Championships in Leipzig.
And just as in the last bout, we see Vosu playing off the back end of her strip, comfortably waiting for Damoska to make a mistake, or to attack at the wrong time.
Certainly the pressure is on Damoska now to make the touches, as she does there. A nice remise to the lower part of the target. Of course, in epee, the whole body is target, so I believe Vosu is hit on the leg on that one.
That quick remise is certainly a strength of hers.
Look at that right there, the back leg, as a matter of fact, right by the knee on the replay.
I think what we're going to see a lot here is a game that Damoska's game is definitely going to be focused on her remise, and I think if Vosu's able to get her counterattack in before Damoska's remise, then she'll be able to come out on top. But Damoska's really fast today, so I'm not sure how it's going to play out.
Yeah, I think it's probably better off for Damoska to keep herself a little centered around the center line there. I don't think she's in great shape when she's too far into Vosu's territory. Let's see if she can discipline herself to stay back there just a little bit. Sometimes you find that lucky spot on the strip and you don't want to give it up. And other times you want to bring the fight to your opponent. You know, it's tough to sit back and wait. But we're about 10 seconds left, so see if they fence it through, or apparently they will.
Looks like Damoska would like to even it up.
She evens it up there before the break. Only 2 seconds left. I doubt we'll see any fencing in the remainder of this period, as we get ready for a 1-minute break in the beginning of the second period.
That was a nice hand touch there.
So level as we started, 2-2 or 0-0 since we're even right now, and starting the second period on equal footing. A little advice from the coaches, a little something to drink, and we'll see what they come up with, what magic they can work in next time. The beginning of the second period, of course, we have 3 periods of 3 minutes, and we're just going to be beginning the second period in just a minute. Of course, we are brought to you by the World Championship Sports Network, the home of world champions, WNBA I'm sorry, I get that backwards all the time, WCSN.com, in cooperation with Fencing Pictures at fencingpictures.tv and Fencing Channel at fencingchannel.com. As a matter of fact, I'm joined today by two athletes from the U.S. Women's Epee team, and I'm very pleased that you could be with us tonight. And what do you think of the seats? Now, see, if you were just sitting by today, you wouldn't have good seats like this. You've got a live feed of great camera angles here, and you've got a great skybox view of the strip down there. Not so bad.
It's great to be able to see the overview, but also the replays and the close-ups.
Certainly is. From a perspective of someone who's two people who are active competitors and learning all the time, these types of instant replays can be a great learning tool, and I noticed that both of you are examining this stuff pretty closely, so that maybe next time around you're going to be up on that center strip.
Hope so.
It almost looked like Demoska's parry put that point down onto her toe that time.
Yeah, that was kind of uncharacteristic for Vosu. I'm surprised she went for that touch, but it worked.
Yeah.
Successful.
Well, she'll certainly take it. She now has the lead, 3-2, and so again the burden is put on Demoska to have to make the points. And I think Vosu likes it that way, so she's now feeling a little bit stronger about playing her own game.
Demoska's very comfortable attacking, though, so I don't know. I can't really get into her head. I don't know if she likes the pressure of being down by one, but it seems to me that she still looks pretty comfortable.
Yeah, she's moving very well, and you can tell she's, wow, there's that second intention action again. She gives the blade a little bit and allows a counter reaction from Vosu before she finishes up.
That's a smart way to fence this bout. If you can expect that Vosu's going to come with that counterattack and then you're ready to play off of it, you'll be very successful.
Sure, and it looked beautiful there, and we're level at 3-3. And, of course, double touches now. Both lights go off, and so we're level at 4-4.
Demoska really tried to get the jump on that touch, but Vosu was ready.
Yeah, she was there. The point was ready, and kept right at the target, of course, at that point. Certainly, Demoska's working a lot harder out there. Physically, she's working a lot harder, and actually, there's the payoff.
It's very interesting. You don't usually see people who are able to take the Estonians' blades like that. They're usually very good at doing counter parries, but it seemed as though Vosu was caught off guard.
Demoska had that nice, long, fast lunge there.
And it comes out of nowhere. The tempo changes suddenly, of course, very quickly. She goes from moving in one way, taking sort of small steps, keeping her body lively. Demoska, that is, keeping her body moving. And suddenly, like a flash, she's off in that flesh. And, it's very easy to be caught off guard. You have to have a great deal of fencing ability like Vosu to be able to keep track of it. Score is 5-all now, and we are more than halfway through the second period. And so two very equally matched fencers, it appears.
That's for sure. I think they're both at the top of their games right now.
And they must be feeling good. This must be such a great feeling. And it's sometimes tough when you've sort of made a big leap forward or achieved something great to keep yourself focused on what you're supposed to be doing out there. Sometimes you're just glad to be there.
Sure. And it's a little bit surprising not to see, a French fencer or a German fencer here in the final. We're looking at two, well-respected countries, but not necessarily the top fencers. And it makes it kind of exciting. Maybe they haven't been matched up that many times before. They're both just playing their games, and they're playing them well, and that's why it's so evenly matched.
It was a gorgeous touch there from Demoska. That was right off the tip of the mask as Vosu tries to move her target a little bit out of the way. I think she was hoping that the point would go sailing over her body, but instead she caught it right in the middle of the forehead.
Yeah, that can rattle you a little bit.
Wake you up a little bit.
And it proves that Demoska was definitely going forward. Oftentimes, if you hit the mask and you're going backwards or you're a little bit tentative, it doesn't go off or you miss. It goes flat. But with that touch, you hit her square in the face. So.
Wow, what a change
Looks like
there.
Demoska's really picking up the pace here. She's just, that confidence is starting to come through. It looks like her tempo is starting to pick up. Maya and I
think if I were to have to make a prediction about who the winner would be, I would pick Demoska at this point.
Favoring Demoska now. I see how it's going to be. I thought we were all agreed that we got to say the apparently we're going to switch over and say Poland a little bit, which is fine. I'm a Chopin fan. I can get behind that. And double touches, of course, will only be good news for Demoska at this point. That's quite a hook in
her blade's about 90-degree angle right now.
Right now. She wants to stick with it. A lot of fencers get very superstitious about their weapon. Do you two fit into that category, or?
I think there are definitely weapons that I prefer, but there's probably not one that I
absolutely need to stick with.
It's also an opportunity for her to buy a little time just in straightening that blade. You see she took her mask off. It's a chance to sort of recenter and refocus, and sometimes you need that.
And there are a lot of such techniques in fencing, of course, famous shoe tying or fixing the hair, just a way to get a little break, or perhaps
faking a fall.
Faking a fall, for example. Aha, so you say it right out. You think he faked it.
I think it was pretty obvious he fell, and then after the next touch, he was able to run his opponent down the strip and then jump into the air.
Always remarkable. Well, we're at the end of the second period, and Demoska now has got a pretty good lead with 8 points to 6 against the Estonian fencer. And during the 1 minute break, of course, there's going to be a lot of planning for the final period here, and this final period will determine who is our world champion for the women's epee.
I think it's really interesting here that it doesn't seem as though Demoska's coach is talking to her. She seems like she's just sipping her water and thinking on her own.
Yeah, I wonder how what happened there. Do we see him coach? Do we see a coach work with Demoska in the last bout?
In the last period, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
So maybe she just needs a little bit of time to think for herself.
Sometimes if your fencer's on a roll, you don't really want to give them any more advice.
That's exactly right. I remember one time I was talking with one of my students at a tournament, and he was doing all right. But then after the break, I got, went back to my position, and my fencer came out and just was on fire. And everybody said, "Wow, what did you say to him?" And in fact, during the break, I had gone up and said, "You like my new shoes?" And we sat and talked about my shoes for a minute, and then I went back to my position as a coach, and everybody thought I came up with this brilliant strategy. So sometimes just giving them a little space is the way to go, and certainly things are working well for Demoska right now.
Well, I'm very impressed with Demoska. 23 years old. She's younger than both 23 years old. She's younger than both Maya and I. This is her breakout season. It's not that common for a women's epee champion to be so young. It's often a sport that takes some time to develop the reflexes and the technique, but she's
the ability just to make wise decisions. But it seems as though she's making pretty good decisions today.
That's right. Now we actually have kind of a good pool of younger fencers coming up in the United States. You feel good about the program in the U.S. right now? Feel like we've got some athletes coming up behind?
I think so. I've been fencing since I was 9 years old, and the amount of change and growth I've seen in the U.S. fencing just in the last 4 years has been incredible.
It's great to see. It's really lovely to see. And I hope we can continue more. As a matter of fact, these broadcasts, I hope are a part of that. And I hope all of you that are tuning in here on the World Championship Sports Network, home of world champions, WCSN.com, agree with me. The more that we can get fencing out to the people, the more that we will see the sport grow. Demoska now ahead 9-6 with just over 2 minutes remaining in this period. So Vosu's going to have to really start putting the pedal to the metal pretty soon if she wants to get this thing taken care of.
Which is tough given what we've said about her more defensive game.
That's right. She's going to want to bring Demoska out. I'm not sure that Demoska is really open to the invitation at this point. She seems to be getting pretty far back on her side of the strip, and we haven't seen that too much. Vosu make it look easy there. Why didn't she just go out and do that 2 more times, and we'll have a tie game?
That point control is definitely on her side today.
I love that lunge. Gorgeous to watch in that replay. It's nice to see the lunge made like that. And for all of my students watching at home, that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about lunges, guys.
It seems like she really surprised Demoska on that touch because Demoska had been playing off the blade a lot. You see, beating and making a lot of preparations, and then Vosu just made simply a straight attack.
That's
nice
that remise again.
Yep. Remise from Demoska. 10-7.
I would say if Demoska is just smart for the next, for the remainder of the time, then she should be able to pull this.
She should be in pretty good shape. Of course, it's dangerous to get complacent, but she looks pretty hungry and pretty eager, I think, to take this medal home today. And what a feather in the cap of that young fencer.
Definitely.
Not that too many fencers are wearing caps these days.
Well, Vosu's not going to go down without a fight.
No, certainly not. And, she's having that kind of day where things are working well for her, and you want to ride that kind of momentum, and I think she definitely wants to get back into it. But she's on the wrong half of the second half of the period now, and we're going to have just about a minute left to fence and 2 touches to achieve. for a normally patient defensive fencer.
Wow.
Well, there's one taken care of right now, and she seems very comfortable down at Damoska's side of the strip.
Looks like the Estonian has remise of her own.
Yeah, that was a nice change of tempo also. I mean, perhaps because she hadn't done that before in the bout, Damoska just really wasn't ready for it.
Maybe so, and you could see Damoska really didn't have her form put together. Definitely Vosu was the stronger in having the stability. Damoska got caught leaning forward a little bit on that.
There you go. See, Damoska, I think she'd do better to go into it and not trying to start to change her game just because she's got a lead and the bout's almost over.
And it's a pitfall that a lot of fencers fall into, and and that space right there, just about the center of the strip, is where Damoska has been doing very well with that quick change of tempo and a strong, committed attack.
With a two-touch lead, though, I would still say it's anyone's game at this point, although I'm favoring Damoska.
Yeah, you'd have to favor Damoska. But I prefer to see fencers fence it out. It's you got to use the time, you got to use the clock, and take the advantages you can get. I think that she's going to be doing it is a pretty touch. I think Damoska's doing herself a disservice if she doesn't keep fencing the way that she's been. She's been fencing that way, and that's why she has the lead. A lot of fencers forget what they did to get the lead, and they'll change their tactic when they have the lead. We often say it's rather than fencing to win, they fence to hold on. Mm-hmm. And that can be a very dangerous situation now with only 1 point and over 40 seconds to play.
I'm wondering how many times Vosu can surprise us with those touches.
Yeah.
She did it in the last bout as well against Flessel. She's keeping the audience on the edge of their seats.
She certainly is.
This is a pretty critical moment.
And she seems pretty calm. Vosu doesn't betray any tension if it's there.
No.
30
That's
seconds
that Zen
left.
mindset we were talking about.
Right. You're exactly
All of the
right.
Estonians fence like this. They're very, very cool fencers.
Maya, I'm fairly jealous that you're getting in the Estonian word much more often than I am. I'm going to have to add that into the conversation. I've only got about 15 seconds to get it done, as Vosu does to get this one touch in there.
She goes. Oh, wow.
At this point, probably unlikely that we'll see the fencers fence. They'll probably step back a little bit. And
a little bit confused about why Damoska chose to go backwards with that one. She definitely should have tried to go into it, but she's probably feeling her nerves now. So.
I think she probably is. And
this might be the age versus youth game we were talking about.
That's right. Trying to hold on to that lead rather than trying to improve on it. Maybe that's she fell into the trap that so many fencers have fallen into, and maybe you have to have a little bit more veteran experience to not fall into that trap.
It's like we're going into sudden death now for
the
World Championship medal.
The priority minute, as we have seen in many of the World Championship matches. So
it just can't get any closer than that.
I'd say it can't, and in fact, the priority goes to Damoska, and so the burden is on Vosu to come forward and try to make that touch.
At the same time, we don't want to see Damoska fall into the trap she just fell into. She needs to play in her game.
Exactly. I'd love to see her come forward and be brave and really try to get out there and score the touch. It would make for some great fencing. And she is coming forward from her on-guard line. Now let's just see if she can be committed with it. It's one of those risks, and fortune favors the bold, ladies and gentlemen. If there is any light turned on, as long as it's not a double light, that person will be the winner, in fact, in this sudden death. And there it is. Damoska, and she is psyched. 23 years old and now champion of the world. That's got to feel pretty good.
Very impressive. And on that same action that was working at the beginning of the bout. So.
She did stick with what her strength was, and I promised I would be impressed, and impressed I am, as the Polish fencer takes home the World Championship title. And the Estonian fencer should not feel bad about her performance today. It was certainly gorgeous fencing and smart fencing.
Definitely. I mean, after beating Laura Flessel and then coming within one touch of the gold,
I have to say it's very, very interesting to see that Damoska is one. I remember fencing her about 2 years ago, and she's a different person now.
She's a different person altogether. Well, time changes us all, and wow, we can see the celebrations there, the red and white of the Polish flag in the warm-up suits as they hoist their teammate up on their shoulders. And she is going for a ride.
So we can all look forward to seeing her for several years to come.
I'd say, what a promising career.
Is that there's another Polish fencer, Kumietis was her name before she got married.
Grabowska,
right, and she is also an extremely good fencer, and I probably would have said that she would have done better at this tournament than Grabowska, but it seems as though she's beaten her teammate.
Really fantastic, and of course that's always good because your teammates get better, you bring it back, and you make your teammates then get better based on the experience you bring home.
Well, after all these upsets between, the typical favorites, France, Germany, and now we have, Polish and Estonian on top, who knows what will happen in the team event on Friday.
Yeah, the teams are going to be great events to watch, and of course we will be making broadcasts all this week on our website, so you can always join us on WCSN.com to see the fencing live. On fencingchannel.tv, we have daily summaries, podcasts, pictures, and a blog of the 2005 World Championships. Also, you can find our podcast on the iTunes store, and so we hope you tune in.
The first title, World Championship. Congratulations.
There she is.
I've seen the Polish team.
Indeed, very pleased as they're going to have a little bit of an interview with the athletes here and set up the podium for the athletes to come up and receive their medals during the awards ceremony.
Because they have the team decisions, I think they will celebrate with you tonight. I think so.
Interesting, the German commentator and the Polish fencer finding a common language in English.
Yes. Even though French is the official language of fencing.
It sure is. But actually today I'm not so sad to be able to hear a little bit of English spoken anyway.
She's acknowledging her teammates and coaches.
Medal ceremony for the women's epee, and it was a surprising, very interesting semifinal and final bout tonight.
I mean, there were upsets going on all day, and I think we saw that again replayed here in the final. Exciting bouts.
Yeah, they were exciting bouts, and this World Championships has not failed to please us as we sit and watch, and I feel lucky indeed to have one of the best seats in the house and have my instant replays and all the comforts of home as I sit overlooking the arena here.
Fechtweltmeisterschaften 2005 in Leipzig, Siegerehrung im Damendegen Einzel. Cérémonie protocolaire de remise de médailles des championnats du monde 2005, Epee Dames individuell. Die Ehrung wird vorgenommen von folgenden Herren. Les médailles seront remises par Monsieur René Roch, président de la Fédération internationale d'escrime,
The president of the FIE.
How pretty that little girl there is on the screen right now.
I think that might actually be Laura Flassel's daughter.
I believe it is, as a matter of fact. Yep. Seems to have inherited her mother's good looks. And here comes the procession for the awards of the women's epee World Championships.
And Mosca's all smiles, as she should be.
Yeah, they all look pretty pleased, huh?
I'd have to guess that Flassel is probably the most disappointed of the bunch. I mean, she's Olympic champion. She's won this competition before. I can't imagine she came here with a goal lower than winning. So she's probably a little upset, although I have to say that third place is pretty good.
It's pretty good, I think, but certainly it was only 1 point difference, and that can be heartbreaking. But with 1 point, just about anything can happen.
Out of a field of 131 competitors, I think it was.
Not so bad at all.
There's our North American.
That's right. Our bronze medalist there, taking the podium now.
Good sportsmanship.
Yeah, I'm always very pleased when you get to really the highest level of fencing. It's always amazing to see good sportsmanship, and it's something that makes our sport, I think, unique. You don't see that as much in other sports, certainly. See, did I miss René Roch getting in there, the president of the FIE? I believe I saw him getting in there to put one of the medals on. Yeah.
Well, those are two fencers to watch on Friday, both of them being the anchors of their teams.
So look at how happy she is. Very happy indeed. It's interesting, early in the morning I was walking around getting some early pictures of the fencers, and I happened to come by Bosu getting stretched and warmed up, and it was one of those things where I walked by her and she kind of looked up because someone had walked by, and I saw her face and I thought, there is a pretty serious look at determination. And I remember reaching into my back pocket and pulling out my seating list so I could see where she was seated, because I had a strong feeling she was going to go well. Now, these are the ones where I put money down and made a ton of money on that one, but of course I haven't.
Und Gewinnerin der Goldmedaille des Internationalen Fechtverbandes, Danuta Dmowska, Polen.
She must be quite overwhelmed.
She is psyched.
To win this medal at 23 years old is definitely an accomplishment.
Can you picture that? There's Renee Roque awarding the gold medal. Yeah, 23 years old. Geez, what was I doing? Graduating from college and living on ramen noodles?
Especially since in fencing you usually mature when you're in your late 20s or early 30s. As you can see, all the other women on the podium are a lot older than her, so she's got a lot of great years left, I'm sure.
Now, do you find, like a lot of other sports, that age of maturity for the athlete is getting a little younger each year with fencing, or do you think it's pretty much staying the same? Fencers are hitting their power in their late 20s. We seem to be seeing some younger and younger fencers, Every now and again, you get these younger fencers winning these, having these stupendous results.
It's true. There's definitely been some breakthroughs, but I think you see, on average, at least across the three weapons, that epee fencers are often a bit older. I don't know why exactly that is, but
it's true. Well, and here they raised the flags for our finalist, of course, and topping the list. We see some replays of her final victory there. Is the Polish flag, and hanging in second place, just slightly lower than that, we see the flag of Estonia. I promised I would get that name in there again. And the French flag and the Canadian flag flying together.
Looks like Dmowska's just full of emotion. I see tears in her eyes.
Yeah, well, I can picture that would be so. We've been talking a little bit about Valentina Vizali, and the other night I noticed it was very emotional for her when she received her medal, and when I got a chance to interview her, I said, why was this one so emotional? You've done it before. And she said, of course, this is the first thing I've won since I